Hello everybody, Bruce Elgord here from Computer Technology, and I wanted to share with you something called Canvas Blueprint Courses, at least a brief introduction. Um, some background. Clark College does not permit instructors to merge courses, this is Canvas shells by the way, that are not what they call cross-listed. So if you're teaching multiple sections of a course, sections that are not quote unquote cross-listed on the schedule, you're not permitted to merge those Canvas shells together into a single shell. And this is due to FERPA and the possibility of people who may have maybe restraining orders against each other such that they don't appear in the same course, nor can they be seen by one another. So having multiple Canvas course shells serving the same course content, right, are difficult to keep synchronized, right? If you made a change in one shell, you'd have to go do it in another shell, and if you had more than two, it gets to be a royal pain in the butt, right? However, I just learned after doing some digging here, and actually the academic tech people had sent something out in an email that I clearly missed, but there's something called Canvas Blueprint or Canvas Blueprints that will allow you to have a single main shell, right, that you don't do any teaching from, but you take that shell and you push changes out to any of the other shells that you have individual sections for. So the blueprint courses information can be found on this page, and I put the URL below the screenshot there. So you want to take a look at this because it's something that you're going to have to request by getting in touch, excuse me, with academic technology. And there's also a link, and I'm zooming in on that link right now, called Canvas Blueprint Guides. And you want to be sure to read them. And here are those blueprint guides right here. And this is where you can learn about, how all this stuff works. So visually, you're going to have like a Canvas course shell. That's going to be your main shell that you can push the content of, pages, quizzes, assignments, to one or more other shells, and you can keep them all synchronized together so that when you make a change in the main shell, you can synchronize it to the other course shells. Pretty cool, right? So let me get started and show you a demo. So I'm going to bring up one of my, actually not that one, I'm going to bring up my Canvas dashboard. And you can see at the bottom here under unpublished courses, that's these three shelves right here. One says CTech 121, Intro to Programming in Python, Blueprint Main. So this is the main Canvas shell, which I'm going to use to push changes to, right, these other two sections that I have. They're separate sections, and these are our test courses right now, but I do have multiple courses in the fall of 2020 where I'm going to be using this because it's going to save me time, money, and I guess it's too late to save my hair. But let me take you to the Blueprint Main. And this is the course content for my Python class, right? It has everything that's going to needed to be pushed, right, to those other Canvas shells. I'm not going to do any teaching in this shell. This is where, like, I'm going to make changes to content, add new content, right? Make changes, maybe publish or unpublish certain things. And then I'm going to actually demonstrate this now. I'm going to be able to push those changes to the other two courses. Now, in the upper right here, you notice that I have this new icon. See this little blue thing here? If I click on that, right, that is the blueprint icon, and it's showing me that I don't have anything to sync right now. And I can also look at my sync history, what I've done in the past. So a couple things that I want to do. Number one, actually, let me just go here. I'm going to open up my another Canvas window here. I'm going to go to the dashboard. And I'm going to open up one of the child shells where I will be doing my teaching, right? And you can see here on the surveys thing right here, the surveys module, that I have Microsoft MTA Exam Survey 1, right? And you can see that it's here, right? So check this out. I'm now back in the main Canvas shell, right? Not the one I'm teaching from. And you notice that it's locked, okay? You see that lock there? That means, let's say that you have another instructor teaching your class. I'm in the child. If I go in here now as the instructor and I try to change it, it won't let me because the content is locked. So just know that you can lock certain content such that maybe other teachers who may be using this course shell cannot change it because your main shell is the thing that needs to control everything. So I'm not going to be using that. So I'm going to go back into the main shell. I'm going to tab there now. And I am going to unlock it. Do you see that? It's unlocked now. And I'm going to change the name of this assignment. I'm in the main shell. I'm going to change it to MTA Exam Survey 1. Please read, right? I don't know, it's just a random stuff. And I'm going to add 2 more exclamation points on the thank you there, like I just did, okay? Stuff we do all the time, right? And I'm going to save that particular assignment. And I'm going to go back to my modules view. Let's just do that. And I made changes, right? This is the main shell. This is the main shell. And if I go into the child shell, right, one of my sections that I do my teaching from, you can still see right here that it is, what do you call it? It's available, right, for me. And look, Survey 1 here doesn't say the same content that I said please read here. So let's say this is the only change I wanted to push out to the child shells. And pretend you're probably going to do more than that, but if you click from the main shell on the blueprint, it now says you have unsynced changes, right? And if you click on that, it shows you, right, the 2 things that you did. So I'm going to cancel, and I'm just going to click on sync. Here we go, sync. So now it's going to push out to those other children shells, right? Those changes I made. Now, here I am. I need to refresh. This is the child shell. This is one I'm doing my teaching from. And if I refresh it, right? Look, I get the please read, right? And if I click on this, right? Check it out. I get the 4 exclamation points here. Okay, so now I have the ability to manage, I'm going to close this window, from a single Canvas shell. Again, think of it as like a template that you use to teach the same course in multiple sections. And if I go to this child shell, you can see it's made here. And if I go to the other child number 2, because when I was experimenting with this, I know I had 2. So I'm going to click on Blueprint Child 2, right? And you can see the change was made there too, okay? So again, I need to treat each shell as its own class, which this allows me to do. And I can push out modifications from my main shell to the other children that are synced to it. So this is awesome. This is something that I was dreading, having to keep multiple Canvas shells in sync due to the fact that we cannot merge sections anymore that aren't cross-listed, right, in the Clark schedule together. So now I have exactly what I want. Sure, I'll need to send out multiple announcements and do things in two different shelves, but at least I don't have to manage separate content in each of those shells, okay? So if you have any questions, okay, this is me. You can get in touch with me via my email at billgort@clark.edu. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And again, I want to thank Academic Technology, Kathy Chatfield, Armetta Burney, and a few other people, Miranda Sari, who helped me out figuring all this stuff out, because I didn't want to have to keep multiple sections synchronized. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to help, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.